Elke. I'm so happy to have you on today's episode of Choose Africa. Can you please share a little bit about you and your business and kind of give listeners who don't know anything about you yet, just like a glimpse of the work you do?
Over the moon, excited to be here. Thanks, Valerie, for having me. I'm Elke Rubach. I'm the founder of Rubach Wealth. It's a holistic family advisory. And what does that mean? Well, we help people get their house in order, their financial house in order. And although the first layer is financial, it really comes to a bunch of other things that are very emotional and very human, because everybody has a different money conversation with their own families, or they don't have it, and we help them have it. I'm based in Toronto, but we have clients pretty much across the globe, and focused on the Canada and the U.S. And the business has been around for 12 years. In a nutshell, I would say the core is financial planning, but it's integrating estate tax, asset management, and risk management all together with family office services. And that was a lot.
That was incredible. And I know you kind of have like a personal story as to why you started this company. Can you share more about that?
Yeah. So I call myself a reformed lawyer. So I studied law, and I studied law in Mexico. And the way it normally goes is that you finish your degree, you're working, then you go to the US, you do your master's of law there, then you work at a firm there for a year, and then you go back to Mexico. In my case, of course, I did everything differently, and I got a scholarship to the London School of Economics. I did my master's there, and I started working at a Canadian law firm in London. So I came, the deals that happened forced me / led me to move to Canada for a year. Mm-hmm. And that year turned into 3 kids, and I'm still here.
I get that, because I moved to Ethiopia for 6 months and I stayed for 8 years and came back with a husband and a baby. So
yeah. So I had this plan, but then the other thing happened, right? But great experience, no regrets. And I love my kids, and they're cool teenagers now, so it's very easy, and everything's going well. But at some point, I decided that law is fascinating, but it was not giving me what I needed. Mm-hmm. After there's so many deals, they all start looking the same, and I was like, I need something else. Moved to banking. And my job at the bank was to be the bridge between clients and advisors, making sure that the investment advice was compliant. And it usually was, but I saw that people made financial decisions based on what sounded great at the time. Mm. And without sitting down to really say, okay, where do I want to go? What's important to me? And stop following those rules of thumb of you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. Because those financial plans really don't reflect the person, don't reflect the family, don't reflect, the fears, the successes, the knowledge. It's just a very cookie cutter way of approaching finances. And I know it doesn't work. Mm. So after 5 years at the bank, I ventured on my own. I said, okay, we're going to do this. My flagship was at the time independence. I have contracts with all these companies. I can do all these things. But of course, when you're starting a business and you have your vision and your passion, it's great. But life teaches you in rather unorthodox ways to be patient and build your business. So, started, like most people with, asset management and insurance licenses, and they ask you for a list of your closest 200 friends and let's go sell. I refuse to do that. Okay. Because I do know that an insurance policy that is sold incorrectly can really wreck a family, or an asset recommendation as an investment allocation recommendation can really destroy fortunes, right? So I decided to, start slow and learn and watch and observe and, pick here, pick there, pick there. And probably 3 years into the business, I started really knowing that I didn't want this to be a massive 3,000 client business. And I wanted to help people with more than just this or this or this. And there was a point probably close to 2017 that, I grew the business. I wanted a team. But I still wanted to have this family feeling of we're really looking after you. So people would ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do this and that and that. So, but that was not a 30-second elevator pitch. Or that would have been climbing the Empire State Building by foot to finish my speech, right? And I worked with a branding expert, and it was pretty incredible to realize that why I was so passionate, I am so passionate about this, is not just the business of planning and helping people get ahead with their finances in life. Based on my personal story, it came out that because when I was little and my dad died when he was 50, he thought that my mom had a plan. My mom thought that he had a plan, but in reality, nobody had a plan. And it made me who I am today. So no regrets, no hard feelings. The therapist has dealt with that. But it's so easy to plan if you put your arrogance and your busyness to the side and you really get at least the very minimum level of financial planning that you owe to yourself, that you owe to your kids, and you save them from really unnecessary stress and allowing them to, if somebody dies, you can be just sad, but not sad and angry or sad and worried and how everything's going to work. So, that started shaping it. And probably since then, it's been, 7-8 years, COVID included, divorce included.
All the things.
Everything. But that's life, right? You can't put everything on hold. And so that's where I go back to the importance of building a team, having people to rely on, people you can trust. People who want to push back. Those are very important to me too. So that's the origin. It was a family-based, very deep down buried story that came to light only many years later. But it's a passion and a reason. And I know that a vast majority of CEOs don't have time for this. And they will get to that. But I'm sorry, if you're getting to that, you're leaving your business behind. You're not attending your career, your clients, your billables, your developments, your whatever you're doing. And the personal stuff is the one that suffers first. So that's what we do for them. We help them, clean it up, do a little bit of, financial janitorial services, and then let's build. Let's be tax efficient. If you're not tax efficient, you're just making the revenue man rich and you're taking unnecessary risks. You have no idea what's going on. And for some reason, when it's your own personal stuff, it gets blurry very fast.
It's funny that I think, one of the reasons why we wanted you on here is a lot of our audience is CEOs who are listening to this. And I know every CEO has probably like a great CFO, great finance team, and they have their business taken care of. But you're right. Some of the personal parts of planning that can be neglected because you are so busy running a company. And I think like entrepreneurs are naturally very optimistic. It's like one of like the blessing and a curse. And so we can almost be so optimistic that like, I'm fine, I'm healthy, I work out, nothing bad is going to happen. But like can you paint a picture of like let's say a CEO who has no planning, what that looks like for their kids versus a CEO who took the steps and kind of followed what you would advise them to do? And like, what is a different ending if unfortunately they were to pass away? Like, how does that impact their family?
Obviously the impact changes from state to state, province to province, but or country by country, right? And we always work with lawyers to make sure that everything is nice and tidy, tied up with a ribbon called a will. Nobody has a will, or when they have a will, it hasn't been looked at for years, and that's sad because then you have the government getting their hands on that money and deciding how to use the funds and how to distribute them. CEOs that are open to listening and are like, we sign NDAs. It's a very, very deep conversation where we really, really go all in. So we do sign NDAs to, give them peace of mind that their information is not going to be floating in the metaverse, or that we're going to be collecting new clients based on their, the fact that, Johnny is our client. But if people are humble and human and vulnerable enough to say, I don't have time for this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly where I want to go. I don't know exactly where things are. We can help them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen people who pushed it, never got to it. And then, somebody dies and then they can't find assets. They don't know where things are. They don't know where passwords are. Accounts are frozen. They get to a level of messiness that sometimes there's a divorce is the first one that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And divorces get really nasty because there's obscure situations, but it's not just because the person who produces the money wants or is trying to hide. They really do not know where things are and how they work, and the emotions get mixed in. So when a CEO sits down and gets the diagnostic of everything they have, and it's CEOs and it's also business owners that happen to be like even more complex because now you're the CEO and the owner in many cases. It's peace of mind of knowing that the bricks that build your house are in place. You know why each brick is where, and then the rest is growth. If you don't have that plan, and if you try to do it yourself, the image we paint is that you have a wheelbarrow full of bricks, and so you're just going to dump them there, and somebody has to figure out what to do with them because something happened to the owner. And it's so easy to plan that it's frustrating when you see things go sideways because arrogance and busyness got in the way. And ultimately, it's the children that suffer. And if you have adult children, well, it's bad, but usually it's the little guys that should not. They didn't ask for the mess, but they have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. I hope everyone who's listening, like their number one thing takeaway after this podcast is like, make sure that you have a will, make sure that it's updated. What are a few of the other like checks that you think they should be doing like immediately after this?
CEOs are usually familiar with executive health checks. You go in and they check everything, right? So where are your assets? Do a list of your accounts. Where are your investments? Where are your advisors? Well, we put together a nice little one pager for our clients, and we say this account is here managed by It's one page, right? Like put it on your fridge.
Yeah.
Asset investments, real estate. Who's your tax planner? Is it a tax planner or is it a tax filer? Sometimes people just file taxes without a proper strategy, and when the insurance person doesn't talk to the tax planner, well, then you miss out opportunities to really leave money within the family, and it's only going to the tax man. So you need to do asset allocation or investment holdings, real estate, Bitcoins, ETFs, funds, whatever kind of investment, your insurance strategy has to be solid because insurance, everybody hates buying insurance, but everybody loves what insurance does for you. And I've yet to see someone who's going to come back and say, my such and such died, but this is too much money. Can you please send it back to the insurance company? Never. I've never seen it.
100%.
Kind of like the umbrella business where you're trying to sell umbrellas when it's sunny.
Yeah.
But it's assets, it's insurance, it's a tax strategy, and everything properly documented. But everything, all those 4 elements that are constantly in flux have to be discussed with the family. If your spouse doesn't know where things are, if your kids don't know where you came from, and I write a lot on tell your story. If your kids don't know where you came from, how do you expect them to understand what you went through and what it takes to build what you have, be it a business, be it a career, be it someone? And people say, this kid is going to burn the wealth or doesn't know how to manage money. Well, have you taught them? Have you talked to them about it? Let's normalize the money conversation, because otherwise this can be solid, but if they don't know what to do with it or where things are, it's not going to work.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, no, I love that. I support that. Okay, I want to change gears and ask you a few other questions. So you mentioned like when you were doing this, you had like that family feel with your clients, but in order to grow, you did have to bring on other team members. So how do you keep that personal relationship with your clients while still growing your business? Because that's a hard one.
There are reality checks, and there are, times where you need to assess which clients are growing with you, which clients are at a place where they no longer want to grow, and that's works for them, or you bring in the team member that can handle that level. I also promised my clients that I don't want to say that it's only me, and if something happens to me, who's going to look after them? So I owe it to my clients too to have an exit plan, right? There's the emergency plan and there's the exit plan, and they need to meet team members. And my job is to find team members that share the same values, where we're all in for the client, and it's a long-term process, and we're all about advice. And if there's any recommendation, it's just the result of the planning process. And when clients are in meetings with us, they feel that they're listened to. And the advisors that I work with, in-house or external, we all share the same values. We talk about, family feeling. We need to be able to laugh. We need to have the growth mentality with like loyalty, all these things that are so important to us. We're also inviting clients to join us if they share the values. If somebody doesn't value that, well, we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, right?
No, I think that's so important. And I see that even with my own team members, like they also kind of share a lot of my same values. And that has made, like, as our company has continued to grow, we've been able to keep that, because you're right. It all comes down to good values. And at the end of the day, you can always learn skills, but if you don't have like the values and the character, you got nothing. And
in your world, you'll agree with me that we're not everything to everyone. But if you share values and you're honest with yourself and you see what you're really good at and what you're really stuck at, well, maybe you can find someone who can complement your weaknesses.
Right.
And that's where the magic lies in building a business or building a team. And it's trial and error, and it doesn't always work. And then you try again, and then, shed a few tears, and then you try again. But as time goes by, you start building your team, and it works.
It works. Yeah. And you are Queen of Delegation, which is an awesome title. I love that. Tell me more about, have you always been good at delegating, and how do you know what tasks to delegate? How does that process work for you?
Okay. So, I choose to believe that I deal with adults. I trust, and it doesn't always work. Okay. So it's trial and error. And not because the other person is bad or mean or evil. There are some crooks on earth for sure, but generally speaking, I choose to believe that people are well-intended. That if I have an idea, I follow two principles very closely. It's Gino Wickman's EOS system.
Okay.
Where you're the visionary. Highly recommend it for everyone. And you're the visionary, but you have so many ideas and you're so passionate about it that if you try to start implementing these ideas, everything falls between the cracks, because like in my case, I was trying to implement idea 1, but I'm already thinking about idea 12. And nobody looked after 1 to 12. And I need someone who can filter 1 to 12, because there's a good chance that 9 out of those 12 ideas are terrible. But they have to be able to tell me that, I explored this and this is really not a good idea. That's not going to work. This could work, but you need this. I need a filter. And then you have the right team, the right person in the right seat to move it forward. And you set goals. And so the Gino Wickman is really good.
Cool. I haven't read it, but I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, it's he has a couple. He has Traction and EOS system, so entrepreneur's operating system, something.
Love it. And
he is a student / product fellow named Dan Sullivan, strategic coach that's been around a bajillion years. And he, I started with him, 12 years ago or so, 10 years ago. And the whole concept is really do a list of everything you do in a week or in a month and so on, and then divide it in things that you love doing, that you're really good at, that when you're done doing them, you want to do more of that because it gives you energy. Then the other section is things that you're good at and you enjoy doing, but getting there. Then there's the ones that you're really not great at, but you have to do. So you do it. It's kind of like procrastination / I hate it, but I have to do it. And then the ones that you really suck at. And you start finding the team members who will be because there will be someone who's really good at what you're really bad at. And if you put them in the other side of the spectrum, they would die. So I'm an extrovert, and then you have the introvert. And you're trying to find the yin and the yang to everything. And you start with the section where you're really bad at. And then you bring people in. And again, you try, it works, doesn't work, and so on. For example, for me, anything that has to do with housework, I can't. It's like I'd rather be planning for a family and dealing with, things that excite me and tax strategies and how to train the next generation than folding laundry. I can't.
100%. No, I love that. I love that you can handle detailed tax strategy of a high level CEO, but you're not going to fold laundry. And I love that because anybody else could fold laundry and you can pay for that.
Well, that's exactly what, Dan says, you should not touch anything that you can pay someone, and then you pick your level, right? For me, it's anything that is $100 an hour or below, I don't touch it. And I refuse to touch it. And when I find myself touching it, I kick myself. I'm like, what am I doing? Because also from my client's perspective, imagine they're paying me a fair bit of money, right? For advice and presence and awareness and thinking of their situation. If I were my client and I found that instead of thinking of whatever situation is, I'm folding laundry, I think, what is this, right? Now, some people find that therapeutic to the death of me, right? Or people that, I live downtown Toronto. I don't drive in Toronto because it's life-sucking. It's horrible. I'm from Mexico City, and traffic there is bad. Toronto is terrible, with no excuse, because it's a tiny city compared to Mexico City. And it could take me 45 minutes to go 4 kilometers. It's demented. So I'm Uber queen. I'm working while the guy's driving. And I get to the place. I don't look disheveled and psychotic and neurotic because, I got absolutely every single red light.
Yeah.
And I was a, $15, $20 solution.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that's such a good lesson because I think we think that we're losing money when you're doing that, but you're actually saving a whole bunch of money, feeling better, showing up better. I always think when I chose to hire cleaners, because I don't want to clean, right? So we hired them once a week, and I was like, you know what? I could just use a couple extra hours of sales, and that will bring in so much more money. I will enjoy it so much better than I would mopping my floor. That has had all kinds of, we have small kids, so it gets a little bit crazy. So I 100% support your method. And
there's a little thing called narwhal, it's like a Roomba, but this one is great because it washes and mops and vacuums, and it's self-cleaning. It's great.
Technology is amazing these days. I mean, truly, sometimes sometimes money is the answer, and you just need to buy the service, the product, the help, whatever you need. And that can actually just fix a lot of things.
And it makes, honestly, when my kids come back from school, I can be with them. My weekends are with them, or we travel. I live for travel. And if you told me, you're going to stop making X $1,000 because you're cleaning a house, and that's not going to allow me to travel, the whole concept just makes me cringe. I'd rather work at what I'm really good at and get paid for handsomely than spend 2 hours folding laundry.
Amazing. No, I think that's such a great example. Okay. And then to kind of wrap up here, in the spirit of how you love to travel, have you ever been anywhere in Africa? And if so, where?
Oh, yep. I was there 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Wow. Which country?
South Africa.
Love it. You cannot go wrong with South Africa. It is just, the whole country is fantastic. What city did we go to?
Well, we landed in Johannesburg, and then we went to Cape Town.
Love Cape Town.
And then we flew in a very, 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 very teeny, tiny plane that was scary to Madikwe, a reserve.
Okay.
And it was incredible. I was there with my 3 kids. They were tiny at a time, and many decisions were made at the time. And it was great. I love traveling. To me, that's where you see different perspectives. That's when you disconnect. That's when you appreciate, how other people live. I just came back from Mexico, and I took my kids there for the first. I mean, we've gone to Mexico a million times, but they're like, "Can we stop going to visit again, aunt, and again, uncle?" And so I took them to the southern part, Chiapas, and it's kind of like going back to the 1400s. It's a very, very poor state with incredibly lovely people. My kids were like, "Oh, so this is Mexican food, and this is culture, and that's natural beauty." And we zip line, and we swim in these incredible waterfalls. They were really damn cold, but it was good. So that to me is travel. I'm already planning, with my boyfriend, we're going to Guatemala, and we're going to Iceland, and we're going back to Africa, and we're doing Patagonia. It's like, I
love that.
My next life will be as like a air stewardess or something.
No, I think for me, travel has really, it's like changed my entire life. And it's still, every time I travel, I come back to work even feeling so much better. And just, you're right, like more in tune with what is important and what's not. You mentioned you have another trip to the continent planned. Which country do you think you're going to go to?
I think we're doing Kenya.
Oh, love Kenya. Another great one.
Kenya. And hang on. I was in Morocco too. So that counts.
Morocco's on my list. I have not been to anywhere like on the western side of the continent. But
I can share my itinerary with you. It was incredible. So we go with my friends from elementary school. We're 6 of us.
So cute.
And it's a lot of fun because there's zero responsibility. You go back to being a child. We're rolling in the sand in the middle of the desert. That was a lot of fun. We had this guy who clearly works with a bunch of Mexican groups, and he was the driver. Like, I highly recommend the driver because otherwise you have no idea. And the country's massive. Yeah. And so we landed in Tangier. Then they drove us to Chefchaouen, the Blue City. Then we went to Fez. Oh my God, that was contrast and then some. Some things were like not that pretty, but other things were great. And then we went through God knows where. We ended up in the desert, and we slept there all night. We should have done 2. And then we went west through these, where 2 mountains meet. They call them the Gorge, and kept going. We did they call it the Moroccan Hollywood, where they filmed Gladiator and those things. So it's pretty cool.
I did not know Gladiator was filmed there.
Well, they did. I might be getting it wrong. A bunch of movies. They call it the Moroccan Hollywood.
So cool. I didn't know.
And we ended up in Marrakesh, and it was so much fun.
That sounds like the best trip. I feel like everybody's going to be like making a will and booking a plane ticket after this. I think those will be the 2 takeaways. Where can people find you? For anyone who's listening is like, I don't have a will, I don't have good financial planning, or it's just been a while and like, I really want to work with you. Where do they find you at?
So I do have a pretty heavy online presence. So the easiest way, even if they're not ready yet, but because we do test for readiness, is connect with me on LinkedIn. It's very easy. Elke Rubach, ELKE RUBACH. Not many of us there. And, the firm also has, we're constantly putting out content, and it's written in videos and so on. So people start thinking about it, right? Because it takes a little while to get going. And so that's an easy one. My email is very easy. It's my first name, ELKE @rubachwealth.com. And of course, there's the website, rubachwealth.com. And it's very easy to find me.
We will put all of that in the show notes. So if someone's listening, they can just check it out in the show notes. But no, I hope more people reach out to you. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Like, I feel like I got like wealth tips, delegation tips. I have like my itinerary to Morocco like mapped out now. So thank you so much. It's been amazing to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, and looking forward to doing more of these.